It's after Labor Day, so it is time for a garden recap video to see just how well the annuals did in my home garden this year. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and we're going to be taking a walk through my garden. We'll be checking out the annuals and how they have done, and also take a look at anything that's nice and flowering right now. As you can tell, there are some hydrangeas blooming, so we'll check those out too as we go and tour through the garden. I am located in West Michigan. I am a zone 5B, 6A, depends on the winter, on how cold we get. Today it is well into the 90s, which is extremely hot for us here in West Michigan for after Labor Day, thus the shining going on my face. But let's go ahead and take a walk through the garden. It's a beautiful day to do so. So I shut the garage door just so you could kind of see the front of the house and the colors that are popping. We'll start here down by the mailbox, and you're going to see these beautiful Vista jazzberries, and that is really going to be the theme of the front of my landscape this year. So we did the Vista jazzberries here by the mailbox. We also had a clematis blooming here. This is the Silmakivi clematis. We did not trim it down this year. We left the little seed pods on, and I think even though they're not actual flowers, I think that these seed pods add a lot of really fun interest to clematis even after they are done flowering. So that's something we can go ahead and trim back now if we choose to. We'll probably wait and do it though until we start doing our fall cleanup. Looking at the front of the house, like I said, that Vista jazzberry is really the plant that is stealing the show. And the hanging baskets actually had 3 different plants planted in them, but because the Vista jazzberry were so aggressive, they really overtook the other plants in there. And they looked great at the time when the 3 plants were showing, but I think for this late in the season, what we have going there for color is just absolutely fabulous, because that is just a huge, powerful knockout ball of color that did fabulous. Taking a look here at the aquapots here at the front of the garage. These are identical aquapots. Things to notice: the palm tree I used did not deal with the sun very well. Lots of brown tips. So we won't be using that one again next year because it did not do well. That was the only one I was able to get this year, so I thought, let's try it. I didn't know what it would do, but now I know it doesn't love the full sun. The cherry drop coleus, this is a new variety for 2024. That plant absolutely exploded in this container. You can see it on the back side there. We'll go over here and check it out from this side. We were gone on vacation and our aquapots dried out, so I apologize for that wilty branch. It even happens to me. But look, here even on the back, that plant just taking over. So definitely, I'm going to say that the cherry drop coleus is super aggressive, and definitely only one is needed, and you may even need to trim it throughout the season just to keep its size in check. The new Mini Vista Ultramarine did well. Beautiful coloration there. Looks nice. The new Bermuda Beach Super Tunia, the improved coloration, doing good. Although you can see that the sweet potato vine really also has taken over. And I know I shouldn't do sweet potato vine in these aquapots, or to be honest, in any pot, because they are very aggressive and take over. But it does give this plant quite a unique look. They're right in the forefront of the planter. The Super Tunia jazzberries that are planted in the ground. This here is a mass planting, mass meaning 5 plants. And look at that. It is absolutely just filled in this whole front part of our landscape and is doing absolutely fabulous. We did a lot of these at the greenhouse as well. So if you haven't seen any of our greenhouse garden tours, head over to YouTube and check out those tours, and you can see that the jazzberry is just a phenomenal plant to use as mass planting, to use as a ground cover. One plant gets about 3 foot wide, makes a full 3 foot wide circle. These here are about 24 or so inches tall. One thing I will tell you is that these do get watered regularly, and they get fed about once a week. So it is important to keep those annuals fed once a week to keep them looking fabulous all summer long. So that really, if someone said, what's the tip, how do you do it? It's because we're fertilizing. Plants need food. Here we have an aquapot that had the pink cashmere Superbena along with the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid, I think it is. And you can see like this did not do so well in the aquapot. Don't let this be a reflection of the plant itself though, because this is a great plant. This just wasn't the prime location for it. So it goes to show that even myself, not every time does everything work. So I'm just being honest with you here. The plants are great. This just was not the great place. The Prince Tut grass on either side of those pillars there did fabulous. Those are in, what do we have those in? I think a 3-gallon container that we just put into the ground with drippers. And those filled out fabulous. Nice height, about 3 foot tall. Really nice bushy form to them. Like I said, the hanging baskets there, those are on drip as well. That's the Vista Jazzberry, and they are doing spectacular. The pots flanking either side of my entrance, they're starting to look a little tired. They have the Queen Tut in them, and to be honest, the Queen Tut just really kind of took over. It looks okay, but it's not the look I wanted to have for these pots. So I probably won't be using Queen Tut again in these pots next year because it's just a lot of Queen Tut and not a lot of flowers. So you can see here the flowers really are struggling because that Queen Tut I think is probably really hogging all of the soil space in these planters. These are aquapots. Queen Tut loves water. It's a water plant. So I'm sure that once we pull this out, the roots of that Queen Tut are just going to be so prolific that it's not giving the other plants really a good chance to grow well in these containers. I'm going to hop up on the porch and check out this planter. So this is the, holy cow, I have not been here in a while to look at this one. This planter, wow, what a monster. This is the one I always kind of like to do something different and unique in. And this year, whew, that is a begonia you're seeing there. That is Pegasus begonia with those huge leaves. And that plant just took off. Wow, that's cool. It's huge. Not what I was expecting. But man, that did well. Wow. Planted in there, if we can find them, we have the Fuchsia Fireworks Fuchsia. Nice foliage, beautiful flowers. But that really got taken over. I must say this plant did look nice earlier in the season before this Pegasus got so big. So would I do it again? Yes. But wow, I would need to do maybe a little trimming back on the Pegasus so that it doesn't get quite as large as what we're seeing. At the bottom, this is another great fuchsia. This is Fuchsia Autumn Now. Great coloration. I love that. It's got a little bit of flower. I don't know, you can see a couple little flowers tucked in there, but I love the foliage color. That is beautiful foliage color. And I think I would do more with that plant next year because that's really impressive. And then we have some of the big leaf vine to the ground. You can see a few of the diamond snow euphorbia kind of poking through the little sprinkles of white. And then I think there was some super bells in there as well, but those probably haven't been seen in a month. But man, yeah, that's impressive. Let's try to get another little angle here. Sorry, it's kind of in a weird spot and really gets kind of hidden. So I should maybe put it in the corner of the porch next year where it can be seen more. All right, the front here, we've got the Bobo hydrangeas. There's 3 of them there, and they're about 3 foot tall, and just creating a nice hedge there in front of the window. And in front of it, it's more of the Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. In the background, we have the Quick Fire hydrangea. That's one of the first ones to bloom in my garden. And look at that beautiful pink blooms. Those are spent. They're kind of almost at the dried point right now, but beautiful, even after they're past their prime. In the front of it is a Proudberry bush. Proudberry features really beautiful little pink berries. We'll have another specimen we'll see later on in the garden tour that's probably a little bit more berried up than this one. But if you're looking for something different, something unique, Proudberry. Underneath the lilac tree are the Anna's Magic Balls. Nice evergreen chartreuse coloration. So this is a lilac standard tree, and we should have trimmed this back earlier in the season, but did not. So we're probably a little late in the season to do it now. if I want it to still bloom next year. So I think we'll just leave it, let it bloom next year, and then go in and take at least 1/3 of this plant off. Making our way around the corner, we kind of tucked in a bunch of more Vista jazzberries, just in this kind of what previously was kind of a bare space in the garden. We just do that because it's easy. 4 plants, and it fills this whole area in. There's another look there at the firelight. That plant is huge. As we walk down the hill, we've got 3 specimens of Bobo hydrangea, and they're starting to turn into their fall coloration. Between the Bobos, we have the Pugster Blue. It's kind of getting buried in there. And here's another one. So the Pugster Blue butterfly bush are so fragrant. Oh, they just smell absolutely amazing. And I loved how the blue and the white kind of looked together. So that was kind of our intentions with this space. Things I'm noticing is that giant hydrangea in the background. I'm going to call it limelight because I don't know. I don't think it is, but it's a lot like limelight. It's very old. You can see it's very wilty looking. And in front of it too, the hydrangea too. Or excuse me, the hibiscus, very wilty looking. This is a very dry area in our garden. We do put sprinklers spraying in, but because these plants are so big, I just don't think they're getting enough water to keep them from looking wilty. So they're a little bit sad looking there. Also too, we have to go in and trim that hydrangea back because it's so tall, it's covering our air conditioner. So we need to let the air conditioner get more air. So this is going to get trimmed back drastically this fall. Making our way through the garden. Kind of jumped through that tree there a minute. We got to trim that back. It's our neighbors, but it's kind of getting over my garden right now. One thing I noticed at the Northern Michigan garden, and I'm noticing here as well, is the sunpatiens. These ones here in particular, kind of losing their flowers a little bit. And I think the reason for these are because, again, they're dry. I can see a lot of wilting going on. They dried out and they're losing their flowers. So if we get some water in this area, that will kind of perk them back up and hopefully get the flowers flowering again, if we can, before it gets too cold. Here we have a Blue Chip Junior butterfly bush, compact in size, small flowers, kind of a pretty little plant. Sege Hasta, because somebody's going to ask. We've got some white clips, kind of nice little pokes of kind of short ground cover, along with some of the Paint the Town dianthus. Those are blooming in the spring. And they've got a nice little bit of flower going on right now. So nice repeat bloomers. Spring color's best. But hey, any bonus blooms you can get later in the season is ideal. So this little area here too is looking a little dry, which it's September. Things can be starting to get a little bit tired looking, I suppose. One thing that's not tired is this Alstroemeria Inca ice. I know, I talk about this all the time, but it's because why wouldn't I? This plant is gorgeous. So much flowers from early season until our first frost. This Alstroemeria Inca ice is going to be putting on a magical show. Against the window there, we have the little quickfire hydrangea. It's past its prime, but you can see the flowers are looking really nice. Even though they're past their prime, they're kind of drying a little bit and looking nice. We'll visit that circle garden here in just a moment after we take a look under the deck. So this is a little touch of a shade garden that we have here. Rudbeckia are pretty much finished. Hostas are starting to look a little bit tattered and tired. And that's okay. But what's not tired? The sunpatiens, they are still going strong. So up front, all those Supertunia jazzberries I showed you held on to the end of the summer. That's a winner. Sunpatiens also holding on till the end of the summer. That's a winner. Any annuals that you can get that will take you from when you plant them till after Labor Day and they are still looking gorgeous, those are great annuals to continue planting. We've got a few phlox there blooming. I believe that's luminary, I think it's sunset coral. And then there's also a little Gerber daisy there blooming. Rudbeckia, kind of done. Lavender's doing nice. Here we've got some Sweet Romance lavender. And that has, Rod tucked those in probably midsummer. And those are doing really nice as well. Let's go take a corner here. Sometimes I don't do this, but we're going to take a look at the Tough Stuff hydrangea because people have been asking lately about Tough Stuff and what to do with it. So this is a planting here of 2 Tough Stuff hydrangeas. The sun is bright, so I'm hoping I can get this for you. So this bloomed, I'm going to say early June or so, and then it bloomed again with its second bloom probably around the beginning of August. Now it's just putting on a lot of growth. So what are we going to do with this? We have options. We can go ahead and just trim the flowers off and get rid of the spent blooms, and the plant will be ready for next year. Or you can see it's getting pretty big. Maybe what we would be better doing is just trimming it back. And I think we'll have to see if Rod agrees, but I think we're going to go ahead and trim this back this year to probably about 1 foot or so. And then we'll let it flush out back next spring. We're going to lose our first cycle of blooms, but it's time to kind of dial the plant back and get a little bit shorter, and then we'll get our secondary round of blooms by doing that. So the blooms that we're currently seeing here, these are all the second round of blooms. And I'm going to see once if we can take a peek in here. Sort of. I feel like I'm being a little bit revealing of this plant. Look at, see those blooms that were all buried? Those were all the original blooms that bloomed earlier on in the summer. So it bloomed, it put on new growth, and it bloomed again. That's pretty impressive. Morning light grass. It's always nice to have a little grass in the garden, add a little bit of motion. So this is unique. So the clematis I showed you at the beginning of the video was the Silmakivi clematis. This one here, oh, it was like the president, blue light. I have 4 of them on here. But look at the little flower, I guess the seed pods is what we'll call them. They're not quite as pretty as that Silmakivi. Not bad, but not quite as much interest, which I think it's unique how different plants, even though they're the same variety, do different things in the season. Even though it's a warm one today, it's such a beautiful day to be out in the garden doing these videos. Like the sky is so pretty, and then the white clouds are just so vibrant. I feel like on hot, humid days, it often is like a perfect day to be out doing videos because the sky is just so beautiful. In this garden here, we have in the center a standard limelight hydrangea tree. Basically what that means is it's a limelight hydrangea that's in a tree form, so it has a stem, and then the flowers are all up there on top. This was trimmed back, so from where the stem branched out into branches, it was trimmed back to about 18 to 24 inches. You can see it came back wonderful, and those flowers are absolutely huge, almost so big that in certain places it's making some of the branches kind of tip over. We would expect that because the flowers are so heavy. Now next year the branches will be more branched out and the flowers will be smaller, so we won't see quite as much flopping as what we're seeing this year here. The lilacs, wow. So this is the bloomerang purple lilac, and they've been blooming on and off throughout the summer, just kind of what I like to call spitter spatter blooms, kind of here and there. But this is probably the most flowers I've seen from the rebloom this summer. Now it's reblooming, it's nothing as prolific as the spring, but to have a lilac that gives you any sort of bloom throughout the summer, that's pretty impressive. So right now I'm smelling lilac in September. Also in this garden we have the My Monet Weigela, which is the variegated shrub you're seeing there next to the red sunpatiens. I think it's kind of funny that the red sunpatiens are actually just as tall as that My Monet Weigela. But man, those sunpatiens are on steroids and are doing amazing. Again, they don't like a lot of fertilizer. They do love water, so that's something to point out. But this bed really filled out and is, I don't know, I think this is one of my little favorite spaces in the garden. We also have some Atlas roses, just one little bloom there. Probably could use a little deadheading to get another cycle of blooms going. You don't have to deadhead to get more blooms going. There's the old ones and there's some new ones. But it does just kind of help clean the plant up a little bit, in my opinion. Heading out to the butterfly garden. There's a lot of color out here right now. Again, sunpatiens, that's going to be the theme here. A lot of beautiful color from the sunpatiens. I'm seeing some monarch butterflies flirting around on the plants, which is fun because my daughter and I, we let out about 200 monarchs just a couple weeks ago into this garden. So it's fun to see that some of them have stuck around. So we have the coneflowers are kind of starting to fade a little bit. I'm going to leave them up for now because the birds do enjoy the seeds of the coneflowers. Holy moly, just standing here. Look at all those caterpillars. There's a giant one there. Another one under here. So this is milkweed, and those caterpillars are friends. Those are not foes. I'm excited to see them on this plant. Now those are the monarch butterfly caterpillars, and this is their host plant. This is the Asclepias. I believe this one is tuberosa. So that is a very welcome sight to see those caterpillars. So don't freak out if you see caterpillars on your milkweed. Leave them, please. They're supposed to be there. We've got the beautiful Bobo hydrangea. Those, if you remember from videos from last fall, those were trimmed down to about 18 to 24 inches. And now they're upwards of 5 foot tall again. We've got the Miss Molly butterfly bush. Love that particular one. That one gets, well, this one's actually about 5 foot tall this year because we did not trim it back last year. So it did get a little taller. Usually we'll trim it back in the fall, and then it takes a little bit while longer to bloom. So we didn't do it this year because I wanted to see if we'd get it blooming earlier, which it did. So we'll see. I might trim it back though again next year because this is a little bit tall for that spot. Another Bobo hydrangea. It's so funny though how these sunpatiens, they are 2.5 at least foot tall, and I feel like they're kind of holding up the plants that are inside of them. This is crazy. So if you even just watched the last video of my garden tour, you could absolutely see perennials in this bed. Now, like, they're in there, I promise, but they are buried with these sunpatiens. More coneflowers, kind of a repeat or mirror image going on. We've got some salvia poking through. Again, trying to find their place in this garden because, again, the sunpatiens are so huge. I believe that's the Rock and Play in the Blues salvia, which is a great pollinator plant. So in this space, we're really intentional about planting pollinator plants because butterflies are what I'm trying to attract into this space. Some more salvia. Here's a milkweed plant. Look at all those buds. This is Asclepias Cinderella, and by buds I meant seed pods. And they're actually starting to break open. So what I'll probably do, if I get time, is come out here and just harvest some of these seed pods. Number one, I don't want this seeding everywhere in my garden, which this is a great plant if you are looking for a milkweed to harvest seeds to spread in through your garden. This is a great one, and you can see all the seed pods, so that's going to be a lot of seed off of here. What I think I might do though is grab some of these seeds and take them up to the Northern Michigan garden, and we have a place up there that we're looking to kind of create a little bit of a monarch habitat. So if I take some of these seeds up there, I think that would be beneficial to that space. Walking around, more sunpatiens. Looks like we got a hibiscus there in the center still blooming. Large dinner plate blooms. That's one of the summerific hibiscus. And there's the firelight hydrangea. Oh, I love firelight hydrangea. This is just one of my absolute favorite hydrangeas, and it's the color. I love the color that it turns, and right now it's in its prime. Next, we're going to head out back to the shade garden. But before we do, we're going to take a look here right next to this firelight hydrangea to check out Glamour Girl Phlox. So Glamour Girl Phlox is a repeat bloomer. So she's already bloomed once, and now she's putting on her second round of blooms. A really beautiful coral flower, and it's fairly mildew resistant as well. Tucked in there, kind of hiding between the plants, not getting a lot of sun. She's doing a good job showing off her color. Heading back to the shade garden here, we're going to see a bunch of hostas in our collection. So I've talked about the hostas again all the time, but when planting hostas, it's important to plant several different varieties, in my opinion, because the more varieties you have, the more color and texture you're going to see in your garden. One thing I am seeing though is the slugs are having a heyday because there are holes all over the place in these hostas. So if I stay far enough away, maybe you won't notice. As we take the corner, more sunpatiens lining the back here of this garden. We've got the, I think these are the hot pink or rose pink sunpatiens, and then white. We also are getting into a little bit more sun here, so we're kind of losing some of the hostas and going into more of the sun type plants. There's some astilbes planted in this area, some Bernera, and as we're getting sunnier, we're getting a few daylilies. It really looks kind of tired in this area right now. Pink is some anemone poking through. Bobo hydrangeas. Bright yellow hosta, that makes a splash. Look at these sunpatiens, how they're just like taking over. I mean, seriously, from the last time I was out here doing the video, like these allium, you could definitely see the base of the plant. You can just see the very tippy tops at it right now. This is just crazy. It's taking over the Monarda there. This area was really pretty in end of June, July, when the daylilies were blooming and the hydrangeas were blooming. Now we're getting into purple sunpatiens as we head back to the pond area. A plant I think that's really neat, and unfortunately we don't sell it anymore, but, oh, that scared me, it was a frog, is the Henry Ayler's Rebeckia. I mean, this one spreads quite a bit and it's very tall, about 5 foot tall. But look at those beautiful flowers. A hibiscus that you can see the Japanese beetles have been enjoying. We've got the incredible hydrangea. That's putting on some new blooms. Typically the incredible is not a rebloomer. We've got Bobo. Invincible Spirit here, which is a rebloomer. So those pink flowers are typical. We should have, could have, would have, whatever, right? Could have trimmed off these old blooms and then seen just the fresh new pink ones, but you know, who's got time for that? I'm being honest here, folks. Some annuals coming through there. Oh, here's the proudberry I was telling you about earlier in the video. So this one is just loaded with pink berries. So if you're looking for something that's just very different, something your neighbors aren't going to probably have, this proudberry bush is something that I think is truly a unique shrub variety. Excellent pollinator plant. I believe it's also native. These berries are great here late summer and into the fall. And depending on how long they last, you might even have a little bit of winter interest with these pink berries. But look at all those clusters of pink. It's just something different and unique. Here's some more hibiscus blooming. Wow, that one's got tall this year. That's a beautiful flower. Tall phlox. My clematis wall, Raguchi, still going strong. That's one of the longest blooming clematis in my garden. And that is just truly a unique variety. Let's go in and take a closer look for those of you who've never heard or seen Raguchi. Beautiful bell-shaped blooms. Hummingbirds love it. I love it because it colors up this spot from about July. Here we are in September. So, you know, sometimes you got to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. The persimmon petunias did not do well here, not because of the petunias, but because of their caregivers. That would be us. They needed more fertilizer. We never got out here and fertilized them. And yeah, they didn't get hit super good with water as well. But if I had to say one thing that really could have made these plants do better, is if we would have been more faithful in fertilizing them as we should have. So this is definitely not a plant's fault. This is Rod and Heidi's fault. Behind it, you see the alstroemeria. These alstroemeria are hardy in zones like 7 and 8. We're a zone, like I said, 5B, 6A, and they came back this year. They're almost done flowering now at this point. But these were surprises for me. Surprises that they came back. Reminiscent rose. This is reminiscent crema, and that's flowering really nice. Got a sedum here. Wine and Roses Weigela, which is great for foliage color this time of year, flower color in the spring. That's just a plain old sedum autumn joy. And here we have Limelight. This Limelight was trimmed back to about 18 inches last fall, and it's now at about 8 foot tall again. Extra large blooms, they're super big, super heavy, so that's why you're seeing some flopping. But next year, when the plant has more branching, this too will have smaller flowers and we won't see that flopping that we're seeing right now. We've got a few lavender blooming still, looking good. Stokesia, this is Peachy's Pick. Insider tip, Proven Winners is coming out with some new Stokesia. We'll probably have them January of 2024 for pre-sale. Excited. Incredible Hydrangea. Phlox, sedum. Nice low growing sedum. I believe it's Pop Star. This is just kind of a little bit of a repeat. Thank you for walking through the garden with me today on this hot and humid day. Hopefully you found some things that are inspirational for yourself and for what you're looking to do in your garden. Definitely I pointed out some annuals that are superstars in my garden, the Sunpatiens, as well as Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. That one just did phenomenal this year. So if I had to recommend for you two plants that are going to just really shine, it's going to be that Jazzberry, Supertunia, and Sunpatiens. And as you can see, I had various colors in the garden, so I can't even say that one is better than another. They all did great. But remember, we water frequently. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you're new to our station, I would love it if you would subscribe. So until our next video, thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.